Kimie, can you introduce yourself in a way that feels true to you right now?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Kimie. I'm a visiting fellow at the Harvard Yanqing Institute, and I'm a PhD candidate from the Chinese University of Hong Kong. I'm an anthropologist, so I'm here at Harvard studying. No, I'm an anthropologist, so I study people, culture, and society, and my specific focus is on East Asia, digital media, and culture in East Asia.
So, how did you end up here in Cambridge?
Well, it's a unanticipated trajectory. I didn't think about I could be here 2 years ago. So I applied for a training program 2 years ago when I was in Japan doing my dissertation research. Um, and then I got admitted into the training program, which was hosted and sponsored by the Harvard Yanqing Institute. Um, and then it was like a week intensive training in my specific field. And then after that, I applied for the fellowship, 10-month fellowship. Um, the competition was very fierce, and finally, only 2 people can got into this program. So I was one of them. So it's very fortunate to be able to come here. So I arrived here last August, and I'm going to end the whole 10-month fellowship next month. So
And can you tell us more about your field? What is anthropology?
yeah, sure. So anthropology. Actually, when I got admitted into my PhD program, I didn't know what anthropology was. It was so funny, right? You apply for the PhD program, but you didn't know what your field was. Um, Anthropology, in a word, is the study of people and culture. So, what is culture? Culture is what people say and do in their everyday life. Let's say, for instance, why do everybody wear pants? Or everybody wear jeans, t-shirts? Why are they so popular? Or why you spend so many hours on your phone now compared to maybe 5 or 6 decades ago, your grandparents' generations, there's no phones. For instance, that's very taken for granted questions. We study them. Yeah, anthropology is a study, it's a field of talking to people and participating in their everyday life.
So, the next question is, well, you have explained this a little bit, but maybe you can, elaborate it more about what you were doing before coming to Cambridge.
Oh, sure. So I'm a fifth year PhD candidate now. So before I came to Cambridge, I was mainly studying in Hong Kong, and then I went to Japan to do my research. And my research is about digital media and society in Japan, and specifically how the populating communities in rural Japan, they use the advanced digital technologies to sort of revitalize their communities. For instance, to establish online social media groups to attract, younger generations to come to know the place, and even to visit the place themselves to help with the local tourism, the preservation of cultures and traditions, that kind of stuff. And I spent a year in Japan, in several places across Japan to talk to people and understand what they are thinking and what they're doing. And I got to know. So, what drew me to this particular project is that I learned that there is a village in Japan who which created this digital residences project. Um, you know, when you spend for instance, $100, then you can be a resident of that remote village, no matter where you are across the globe. Say if you're now in Cambridge, but if you buy that digital tokens, then you can participate in their online community and to be one of them.
So you've explained a little bit about your field. Why do you think people should care about whatever you are studying right now?
Yeah. So I just learned from you that you can just spend €1 to buy a piece of land to build your house in Italy, right? So the population is kind of gaining momentum across different regions, especially in the developed world, not only in Japan, but also in many parts of the North America and Europe. The most severe or advanced case, I mean, Japan is one of them, definitely the super aging society, but also Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and some regions, in the United States. Some of my friends I met at Harvard told me that, okay, their relatives living in New England, they're facing, okay, their children need to go to school in a distant place because the local school will close down because of the shrinking populations. So when population declines, then the original, these services provided by the government, they correspondingly decline as well. So what do people do to maintain their community? So the traditional approach is to attract new population to come to the land to maintain the community, physically in person. But what now with this kind of, everybody seems to be online, and then you can reach to the other person instantly. Then some communities, they came up with this sort of novel ideas to build online communities as if this digital repopulation works. So my concern is whether the digital approach works or not, and to what extent, in what way. That's my concern. And I think by looking into this kind of new way of digital repopulation, we can also think about the question of, not just for local developments, but also how, let's say, something that is born in Italy or maybe in Indonesia, this kind of festivals or, something people really treasured in the past, but then no longer passed down, then who might be the successors? Yeah.
Do you feel like you've changed since coming here?
Yes, I think I change it in every moment.
In what way?
In even though the electricity now, it's not constantly, continuingly. So I feel that every cell in my body is changing, is upgrading, and then I breathe in new air, and I breathe out. So physically, physiologically, I'm changing, but also spiritually and mentally, intellectually, I'm changing because I'm absorbing different kinds of environmental information from you, or maybe from this particular environment. Now I'm in the, the Lehman Hall third floor. So I have this kind of always changing mindset because in the past few months, I've been intensively exposed to some spiritual or let's say religious thinkings, especially Buddhism. This everything is changing, nothing is stable. And I think this mindset help with my self-cultivation as well as fostering my compassion and attention towards the outside world. Because if you think that everything is changing, then you won't take everything for granted. I mean, your friendship, your family relationship, your relationship with your colleagues, your supervisor, everything have to be maintained with great care, attention, awareness. And and I think by thinking in this way, I can be more um, be a more ethically grounded person and to do some good thing to the world in a non-intrusive way. It's not that I think for, so everybody, many people will use the terms that I'm doing it for your own good. I'm doing it because I love you. But do they know what love really is? So I think for me, really important is to be compassionate and to learn how to practice deep listening so as to understand the other person really well. Um, so because I am always, have this kind of open-minded attitude, or at least I try to ask myself to be open-minded, to absorb different kinds of information, to update myself so as to respond to the others. In this way, I think I'm constantly changing and evolving.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Um, what's something you've been thinking about a lot recently?
Yeah, I think this is a following up question with the last one. It's this kind of self cultivation and compassion that I really want to develop in a long term because I think I've been thinking about life recently,
What
life per se, like what kind of life I wanted to lead and what so life is not just about okay, you you go to school and you get a good job and you establish your family and then doing all this kind of everybody seems to work in this direction, but I will kind of step back and think, okay, do I really want to do this? Am I just performing some kind of social role, meeting other people's expectation? So I've been thinking about when I'm thinking about what kind of life I want to do, I'm constantly adjusting or reoriented myself. Um, so before I came to Harvard, I actually had quite a good time in Japan because I've been researching various people's life, and I got to know. I talked to farmers, I talked to businessmen, I talked to politicians, and I talked to cleaners, people of different backgrounds, different genders, ethnicities, and I learned so much from them. I felt that my life, the depth of my life, has been significantly enhanced, and I felt very fulfilling and happy at that time. But after that, I came to Harvard, and the thing I needed to accomplish is to write up my dissertation, to write about those data I have collected, those life story I have collected in Japan. But then when I started to my writing up journey, I sort of found this kind of environment. In this kind of environment, I found myself getting compressed
What do you mean by compressed?
because I thought I came to a peaceful place to accomplish my own project. But I was so disturbed by the external environment. I took classes, I attended seminars, and I went to a lot of informal talks, luncheons, dinners, and I got to meet so many amazing people. But somehow, deep in my mind, I felt it was so overwhelmed. Even though I talked, people asked me, "How's your life at Harvard?" I was like, "Oh, it was so fun. It was so amazing. I treasure the resources, opportunities here. I'm very grateful." But I know, deep in my mind, I was so scared. I was so anxious, and I cried. I didn't know what to do. I went to counseling. The second month I arrived here, that's because I had a similar experience of seeking help in Hong Kong during the pandemic when I was alone and I didn't know what to do, what's my future plan. I was very depressed and I ended up went to counseling. So the same here. I didn't know what to do, but at least it seems that there's a clouds of people around me, but I felt so lonely. And you didn't dare to tell because you're in a very privileged position. So you seem to be very happy, but that's when the moment deep inside I sat down and I closed my eyes and I asked myself, why are you here? So but I don't want to make a bad ending. I think this is a story about always is a reorientation. At that particular moment, I started to realize it's okay to be nerd. It's okay to be, saying silly things. You don't need to be smart. You don't need to be, showing great skills of asking good questions and making impressive presentations, talking to your professor in a, okay, I know everything, that kind of attitude. It's okay to just be yourself. And it's this kind of accumulation of various kinds of this scares and anxious moments that finally led me to the stage of enlightenment and awakening, of self-recognition and self-healing. Of course, it's not a easy journey. I've met so many friends with whom I share laughters, sorrow, everything. Just as a person, we came together very naturally. We kind of like attracted by each other. But yeah, so I think the lesson I learned from here is that try to be present and to be grateful for everyone you meet, and try to smile, because smile really, so it's a very slight bodily modification, but it also has some very profound effect on your mind, on your heart. And when you smile, you're liberating yourself and also other people, because when other people see you smiling, then they will say, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you." They become happy as well. So when you kind of interact with people in that way, even though that person, when they saw you, they're not that happy, but they become happy. And in that way, you feel the happiness energy circulating back. Oh, I have another happy day again.
That's very beautiful, and I can relate to what you just said. Um, I mean, sometimes people see you just from the outside, right? You also said that sometimes it can be very performative, right? Like in classrooms, you have to, speak up. You have, and you can have like compare yourself with your classmates, for instance, right? How do you handle that? Or how do you handle that in a way that you are not feeling overwhelmed, as you said?
Yeah. So I think different people, they have different trajectories of handling difficult things. So I learned from my past experience as well. Um, what I did is that first to make sure my physical health is okay. So my body is functioning. You if you feel depressed, get sleep. If not enough, get more sleep. That is the essential, um, the first essential thing I would say. Um, and the second thing is that um, try to share and try to ask for help. Um, for instance, I have a time um, several months ago when my competition mechanism was sort of activated in my mind. I saw everybody as enemy and rivals, and I didn't want to talk to anyone because when I think, okay, I need to talk to this person, I would be like, I'm sort of unleashing my energy. So my energy is just kind of go to other people rather than staying within myself. But now I would try to think of it as a sort of, as I said, circulation of energy. Mm, First, you think of every conversation or interaction always as reciprocal. It's you try to um, understand how you are going to establish relationship. For instance, when I talk to my professors before that, I was always worried about, okay, I'm saying these stupid things again. So I'm afraid of being judged. I'm But now I would think about how can we make this project, how can we improve this project together collaboratively. So if I think of, okay, I'm I'm not concerned with me, myself only, but the thing. So if your focus move from the person, from the things you are collaboratively have interest in, then it kind of release your burden from, you know, fear of being judged. And and then this I will also and now I also think one thing about anthropology is that I got the chance of knowing so many stories, and in the process of knowing stories and ask questions, I kind of naturally learned how to converse with people. Just delving into their stories instead of. I think in that moment, just make yourself empty, and then just take as much information as you can from the other people, from the other person, and then in that way, for instance, if a people, um, let's say, I think this week I had a very significant transformation compared to last week, because last week when I went to canteen, I I didn't want to talk to anyone. I only want to find a cave, just eat alone. Don't talk to me. I was radiating that kind of energy. It's very dark. But now I was like, oh, who is the next person I can talk to? I was, I'm now having that kind of mindset. Oh, today the weather is so great. I'm kind of sensing everything that I feel happy and that can gauge my interest. And then I would be like, okay, I'm thinking about this story. What if the other person can add to the script, to make the story more fun and more nuanced, in a in a way that only one person cannot achieve. Then I think of it as as if I am a writer or a director of a film. How can I make a film or novel very immediately? Let's improvise on the story itself. Then you kind of see everybody as your collaborator. You know, when you get one more person, Adam, 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 and you just keep asking questions. And when you ask more and more questions, your heart is kind of widening. And then you kind of feel at one point you kind of feel you're getting rid of that one small cave and you're embracing the whole universe. And then it's such a magic that you kind of sincerely sharing the other person's sorrow or joy and think, oh, your wrong concern, that doesn't matter. I mean, it's gone. And when you're sharing more and more and doing this more and more frequently, you become sort of professional. Yeah, I think it's an ability that everybody can develop as long as you do it. No matter who they are, can be a person, can be your colleagues or friends or your families. Just do it. Be curious, enthusiastic, smile, ask questions, and then you are kind of everybody saying, "Oh, you are radiating! Wow, what a transformation!"
My next question is, with all the wisdom that you have, what kind of life do you think you are moving toward?
Yeah, I think a, a radiating life. And then I wanted to be, I always think of sun as very magnificent existence in the world because it keeps radiating energy to the earth, to every living or non-living beings. It could, in a quite equivalent way. It's this kind of treating every kind of existence as equal, as everything happens for a reason, and everything comes for, or everyone comes for a reason. So you just give, you give. So the thing I need to do in the future is how to maintain this kind of give and take relationship, no matter what happens, like no matter what kind of position I'm in or profession or work I'm gonna do, but it's how I can treat everything in a gentle and non-judgmental, always in an open-minded way, to listen and to give and to live a simple life, as simple as you can, because everything, there's an old saying in Chinese that the great way is to getting back to simplicity. Yeah, just like living like a water, you flow naturally. You go with the flow. You don't resist. You're just living with the time. Like you're born, and then you become adults, you matured, and then you kind of age. Just follow the life circle, and living with the temporality, like the Charles River, the beautiful thing I did in Cambridge is walk along Charles River almost every day. I like water, and I like to see how it's shining, under the sunshine, and in different seasons where there's so many, trees, birds are singing, you can see rabbits, squirrels. I think it's a very beautiful ecology, and I wanted to play an important part in that ecology. Yeah.
That's so noble, right? That's something that's very, also very very pure.
Mm.
But is there anything that you hope doesn't change as you move forward?
Mm. Yeah, since I kept emphasizing that everything is changing, including myself. But I do hope, let's say, some good qualities I hope to maintain. For instance, kindness, gentleness, and compassion. These are the human virtues that is really, really crucial, especially in this technologically enhanced world. Like everything seems to be, well, I think it's not a hype, it's becoming realities, but everything seems to be more and more artificially intelligent. And then how do you still live as a human that's respectable, that's in a in a you know let's put it in this way. I think human pride and dignity still matters in this age of artificially intelligence. Well, in this artificially intelligent world, it's not just being smart and intelligent matters, but how you relate to other beings. That is a concern, I think, for everyone now.
Last questions. What kind of impact do you hope to leave in your life?
I think if I answered this question 10 years ago, I would say, I want to get a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, why not? Why change?
Well, yeah. I don't know. Maybe is it because I'm getting older, so my dream is becoming smaller or more on the ground, which means that I'm not thinking about making this global level impact. It's very abstract, and people actually don't get it what that means. If you're like talking about this concept, discourses, debates. So I think now I want to make impact on real people that I can, for instance, my friends, every day when I go to grocery or when I go to canteen, I can just smile and then talk to them and ask them how's it going. It's a very mundane way of impacting the world, but also very profound, I think, in a way. That's because I came to realize that the quantity or number maybe doesn't matter than quality. If you can getting involved in one person's life in depth, quite deeply, helping helping them how to helping them get rid of this all kinds of competition trap or whatever anxiety trap. And I think that is so meaningful. So I think I will keep doing this small acts day by day. And then now I'm a PhD candidate. I'm going to graduate in a year. I still don't know if I can find a job in academia, but I don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it because I can make a living, whatever. So it depends on what kinds of jobs I'm landing on. If fortunately, I become a professor, then I think the way I can make an impact on the society is to, do more research that is beneficial to influencing how people think of their life, and to give good interactive lectures so that the students, they won't sleep. And then they really feel, okay, I learned something. Yeah. So I think if I become a professor, that's the direction I'm aiming towards. And then I'm thinking about FIRE recently, which means that you get financial independence very early and you're getting retired. Yeah, and I think if I can reach a certain point that I think I feel comfortable, leaving this academic job, I want to write freely. I want to write whatever I want. Just I said, I record history. It's not just history, but ordinary people's stories, which I found so fun and interesting. I want to share to everyone. And I want to do semi-counseling. Well, I won't say it's counseling. It's more like everybody has a space to talk about their worries and share their joy together. I want to create a kind of public space, or third space, as you call it. A third space is a space that's different from your family and your workplace. It's a space like a community when people gather. You can think of it as a combination of bookstore and a cafe. Yeah, I want to run that kind of third space, maybe in 3 decades. So welcome to my third space.
Final one. What is your message for your future self?
Well, be water, love the world.
What does it mean?
Which means just go with the flow and love whatever you encounter.
That's it. Yes. Thank you so much, Kimie. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
So